Welcome to the information session for potential applicants to the competition for the pre-service program development grants at historically Black colleges and universities, tribally controlled colleges and universities, and other minority serving institutions to diversify personnel serving children with disabilities. This competition falls under the Personnel Development to Improve Services and Results for Children with Disabilities program, which is a discretionary grant program managed by the Office of Special Education Programs. This information session will provide you with information about applying for this grant opportunity that was posted in the Federal Register on January 25th, 2024. I am Tracy Dixon, a project officer at OSEP. Today, I will provide interested applicants with information regarding this competition. The assistance listing number is 84325X. I would like to go over some caveats before we begin this webinar. First, the intent of this presentation is to provide guidance only, and the information contained in this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the notice inviting applications and the application package. Therefore, it's important that all prospective applicants read the entire notice, application package, and any additional relevant information. There are footnotes in the priority with key information and definitions, so please read them carefully. In addition, applicants are encouraged to listen to a more general webinar entitled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants. This webinar is an orientation to the overall application process. The webinar can be found at osepideas.work.org, the same location that houses the link to this recording. Please be aware of application timelines. The notice inviting applications was published in the Federal Register on January 25th, 2024. All applications are due on April 4th, 2024, no later than 11:59 and 59 seconds in the evening. Note that this is Eastern Time, and applicants should determine the corresponding time in your time zone. I will discuss the implications of a late submission later in this session. The application package will soon be available on grants.gov. It contains the most comprehensive information on how to apply. In it, you will find a Dear Applicant letter from the Director of OSEP's Research to Practice Division. The package includes important information about the submission procedures using the grants.gov system. The package also contains the detailed selection criteria that will be used to judge the quality of the applications, as well as general information in all required forms. Please read the application package carefully. In the following sections, I will go over important information, including the purpose of this priority and eligible applicants. I will also discuss the funding level for the A4325X competition. The purpose of the Personnel Development Program is to increase the numbers of qualified personnel serving children with disabilities in early intervention, early childhood special education, and related services. Additionally, the Personnel Development Program aims to ensure that graduates enter the workforce with the necessary knowledge, skills, and competencies to deliver high-quality services through methods grounded in research. The purpose of this priority is to fund pre-service development grants at HBCUs, TCCUs, and other minority serving institutions to develop new associates, bachelor's, master's, educational specialists, clinical doctorate degrees, or certification programs in early intervention, early childhood special education, or related services. Applicants must have the infrastructure in place to support a new degree or certification program. For example, an applicant must have an existing Department of Education to develop a degree or certification program in special education. There should be an existing related services program to develop a degree or certification program in the related services. This grant opportunity will not allow for development of a full department. Eligible applicants under this priority include HBCUs, TCCUs, and other MSIs. Please refer to footnotes 1 through 3 in the priority for more detailed information on eligibility definitions. We anticipate 16 awards. Each award will not exceed an estimated $150,000 for a single budget period of 12 months, with a total project period of 60 months. This program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate and does not include any program-specific limitation on administrative expenses. All administrative expenses must be reasonable and necessary and conform to cost principles described in Title II of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 200, Subpart E of the Uniform Guidance. In this next section, beginning on slide 12, I will review application information, including expected project outcomes, application narrative, and selection criteria and other requirements. Once again, this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the NIA and the application package. Please make sure to read the entire notice, including footnotes, the application package, and any additional relevant information if you intend to apply. The pre-service development grants will have 3 expected outcomes that must be achieved. These are increasing the number of personnel, including those who are multilingual and racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse, working in early intervention, early childhood special education, and related services. Increase the number of personnel, including diverse personnel, by increasing the number of degree and certification programs offered at HBCUs, TCCUs, and MSIs in the areas of early intervention, early childhood special education, and related services. And last, building faculty capacity at HBCUs, TCCUs, and MSIs to design and deliver programs of study that will prepare graduates who are skilled to work with children with disabilities, including those who are multilingual and racially, ethnically, and culturally diverse. The notice lays out how the application narrative should be divided into 5 sections. These section headings are identical to the 5 categories of selection criteria used by reviewers to evaluate each application. I will go over the narrative sections and selection criteria and point out in general terms what should be addressed in each section of the narrative and how reviewers will consider each of the selection criteria. Please read the notice carefully since the information contained in the notice is substantially more detailed. Again, please read the significance section of the NIA for specific expectations of what to include in this section. This is a brief summary. The narrative section on significance should provide information demonstrating that the proposed project has successfully graduated students from an education or related services program that is related to the new degree or certification being proposed. Reviewers will score the significance of proposed projects between 0 and 10 points. In determining the significance of the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following criteria: the extent to which the proposed project will prepare personnel for fields in which shortages have been demonstrated. This includes personnel who are multilingual or racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse. The impact of results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project, especially improvements in teaching and student achievement. Quality of project services. Please read carefully the narrative and criteria sections for quality of project services. This is only a brief overview. This section of the narrative should describe how the project proposed project plans within 24 months to develop curriculum, coursework, and field or clinical practicum experiences, along with academic requirements for the proposed degree or certification. Determine the knowledge and competencies necessary to provide responsive instruction, interventions, and services. Develop partnerships with field placement and clinical practicum sites. Establish admission and enrollment plans, and how the proposed project will advise and mentor students. Additionally, the proposed project must describe how it will, by the end of year 4, have structures in place to implement the program. This includes ensuring faculty and staff have the capacity to implement the program, developing a leadership plan, and ensuring sustainability for the proposed project. When evaluating applications for quality of project services worth up to 45 points, reviewers will consider the following factors: clear and measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes, as well as current knowledge from research and effective practice. And last, this section will also consider that training or professional development services will lead to improvements in practice. This section relates to the quality of project personnel and the quality of the management plan for proposed projects. In this section, the narrative should address how the proposed management plan will ensure that the project director and key personnel are qualified and experienced to implement the project. Demonstrate how the time for key project personnel and any consultants and subcontractors will be allocated, and how the proposed management plan will ensure that products and services provided are of high quality, relevant, and useful to recipients. Reviewers will score the quality of project personnel and quality of the management plan between 0 and 20 points, taking into consideration the qualifications of key personnel and the adequacy of the management plan to achieve the objectives of the proposed project on time and within budget. Please read the narrative and criteria sections for adequacy of resources carefully. This is a brief overview. This section of the narrative describes adequate resources for the applicant and key partners that are needed to carry out the project as intended, as well as a budget that is aligned with the proposed activities that will meet intended objectives. Adequacy of resources will be scored between 0 to 10 points, considering the adequacy of resources such as facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources, and ensuring that these resources are available to support the project. Additionally, ensuring that costs are reasonable and aligned with objectives and project design. This section relates to the quality of a proposed project's evaluation. This portion of the narrative should include plans to ensure that the goals or objectives of the proposed project have been met based on measurable intended project outcomes. Reviewers will score the quality of project evaluation between 0 and 15 points. In determining the quality of the proposed project evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors. Are the evaluation methods clear, achievable, and aligned to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project? And do the evaluation methods help the proposed project to provide performance feedback and permit periodic assessment of progress toward achieving intended outcomes? Please note that reviewers are required to read Appendix A. Please refer to the Dear Applicant letter and the NIA for more details related to Appendix A. This is a brief overview of the evaluation materials that should be included in Appendix A. Appendix A should include the proposed logic model and conceptual framework. Please refer to the link shown in this slide to learn more about how to develop a logic model and conceptual framework. Appendix A can include charts, tables, figures, graphs, screenshots, and visuals that provide information directly relating to the application requirements. Additionally, Appendix A can include evaluation methodologies, data collection methods, and data analyses that will be used that are depicted in charts, tables, figures, etc. Again, please read the NIA carefully. This is a brief overview of only the evaluation materials that are included in Appendix A. The external reviewers will judge and score the quality of the application using selection criteria. Each application can receive up to a total of 100 points. As I mentioned on the previous slides, the significance of the project can be scored up to 10 points, quality of project services up to 45 points, quality of project personnel and quality of the management plan scored up to 20 points, adequacy of resources can be scored up to 10 points, and project evaluation can be scored up to 15 points. The application package contains more details about the narrative requirements and selection criteria. Applicants are strongly encouraged to read these carefully when preparing the application narrative. A few more reminders about general requirements and insurances. A successful applicant must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities. Involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities, ages birth through 26, and planning, implementing, and evaluating the project. The proposed project must maintain a high-quality website, The proposed project must budget for attendance at an in-person kickoff meeting, project directors meetings, and additional department briefings or conferences. Budgets should include a 5% set aside as described in the NIA. Also, applicants must propose to engage doctoral students or postdoctoral fellows, including those who are multilingual and racially, ethnically, and culturally diverse, in the project to increase the number of future leaders in the field who are knowledgeable about program development. Sometimes applicants have questions about the permissibility of subgrants and contracts. Under this award, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to specific types of entities to directly carry out project activities described in the application. Refer to 34 CFR 75.708 B and C for more details. In this next section, I will cover some general information related to submitting an application. Once again, please refer to the notice for additional information. Please note that applications must be submitted electronically in the grants.gov system. See grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants included in the application package. We strongly recommend that you do not wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date timestamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. The time it takes to upload an application will vary depending on a number of factors, including the size of the application and the speed of your internet connection, as well as the time it takes grants.gov to process the application. If grants.gov rejects your application, you will need to resubmit successfully to grants.gov before 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time on the deadline date. If there are reasons why an applicant cannot submit using grants.gov, the applicant must follow the information contained in the application package. Applications cannot be submitted by email, and they must be submitted prior to the deadline of 11:59, 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April 4th, 2024. We strongly encourage applicants to submit all narratives and attachments in PDF read-only format and to ensure narratives and attachments are formatted to ensure accessibility for reviewers. In order to make sure that the application is submitted on time and correctly, please register as early as possible in grants.gov and start the application process. Do not wait until you have the application ready to register. Grants.gov will create a workspace for applicants to submit the pieces of the application over time. If you are already registered in the system for award management, make sure your registration is current. Submit early, a day or more in advance if possible. Should there be any problems with the grants.gov system, submitting early will allow you time to correct the problem and resubmit before the deadline. Verify that the submission is okay. Grants.gov will send applicants notification that the submission was on time and validated. So applicants should make sure that they receive that confirmation and not assume the submission was okay. Here are some additional tips for submitting an application. Pay attention to the maximum funding levels for the grant as contained in the notice. Awards will not be made for amounts higher than the published amounts. Following the recommended organization, page limits, spacing, and font sizes to facilitate the application review process, an applicant should strongly consider following the recommendations. PDF files make it easier for the system to put together different parts of the application into one application that reviewers can more easily read and follow. The grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants in the application package can be extremely helpful for submitting the application in grants.gov. Resources about document accessibility are available at the osipideasthatwork.org website under Resources for Grantees 508 Accessibility. Please note that if for any reason an application is submitted more than once and validated more than once, the last application submitted will be considered and previous applications will be considered duplicates and therefore ineligible. There are two additional reasons why an application may not be eligible. First, all applications received after the published deadline will not be eligible for funding. Second, applications that do not address the priority will also not be eligible for funding. For example, an application proposing to provide scholarships to preschool children will not be eligible since that is not the purpose of this priority. Once again, the purpose of this priority is to increase the numbers of degree and certification programs at HBCUs, TCCUs, and other MSIs. We are hosting a webinar on February 13th, 2024 for potential applicants entitled Digging Deeper, Resources to Support 325 Applicants. This webinar will provide useful resources for program design, content, and pedagogy. We hope that you are able to join. If you are not able to join, the webinar will be posted on the Ideas That Work website. Please click on the link in the slide to register, or please feel free to contact me directly. Thank you for reviewing this webinar. As I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar covered highlights of what's contained in the application package and the priority. Please read the NIA in its entirety, including footnotes. If you have additional questions, please contact me, preferably by email at tracy.dixon@ed.gov. You may also call 202-245-7844. Please reach out with any questions, big or small, about the applicant process. Have a wonderful day.